Hey guys, we are welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial, we'll be making this trendy kimono, and the width of this fabric is a quarter of my hip circumference plus 4 inches is allowance. And considering it from my shoulder, I'm using 8 inches as half of my shoulder measurement plus 7 inches as the sleeve length. So altogether we'll be having 15 inches. Then I'm working with this Ashoke, which is about 6 1/4 inches for the height. Okay, so I'll be taking into consideration that, and so if I'm adding it to the sleeve allowance of 7 inches, that's 7 plus 6 inches, that's 13 inches. So whatever sleeve allowance you want to use, you need to take into consideration the height of the ashoke you're using. Some ashoke comes in 5, some 6, some 7, and some even more. Some are wider, so you need to take into consideration the length of the sleeve measurement you're using. So the length of this piece is about 36 inches, and I folded it into 4 already. That's because I want to cut the front and the back panels together. So from the center front there, I'm going inwards with 3 inches for the neck width, and I'm using 1.5 inches for the neck depth. That's for the back neckline. Okay, so now this fabric is folded into 4 and the top edge there is folded, so I won't be doing any shoulder slant. So now for the width of the shoke, if you're folding it into 2, we have about 318 inches. I will measure the neck depth for the front neckline 10 inches, and at that point I'm going inwards with 2 inches. Because the shoke is 3 inches, we'll need 1 inch for seam allowance and 2 inches to replace this. I'll connect it to the neckline, that 2 inches, and then take the same 2 inches to the length. This would only be for the front panel. I placed these 2 inches at several points, and then I'll be using the ruler. I'll connect it from what I have at the length there. I'll connect it to that 10 inches of the front neck depth. I'm taking the 2 inches to the neck depth, and then I will connect it to the neck width. Blending that point so it will just blend into the neck width. Okay, we'll cut out the neckline of the back panel first. Now remember, this fabric is folded into 4, so I will then separate it, the front panel and the back panel. Notch the midpoint of the back panel neckline, and then we'll cut out the 2 inches, okay, for the front neckline like this. And then this is what we have to place the ashoke. This is the inspiration for this kimono. So I measured about 14 inches, that's the width of it. Multiplying that by 2, and I have 28 inches. And then I'll cut this ashoke 14 inches into 2. All right. So the width of the fabric is 14 inches, and I'm cutting the ashoke 14 inches length, and I'm making it 2 pieces. After cutting that, I would like to mark the wrong side of the ashoke, so it will be easy for me when I'm placing them. And then to place them, I'm simply bringing it on top of the fabric, and with this I need to mark out the ½ inch that I want to use to place the ashoke. So more like my seam allowance, but I just like to mark it out so it will be easy for me to place this ashoke. It will take time, but then in the long run it is me when I'm sewing. So I'm simply marking this at several points, and then I connect it to make a horizontal line. After that, I'll bring in the ashoke. Now the right side of this ashoke will face up, so more like the back side of the ashoke facing the front side of the fabric, and then I'm placing it on that line. the line I marked as ½ inch, and I'll do this to both sides of this front panel. I'll place it like this and then take it to the machine, and then I'll sew at the top there. Same thing for the back panel. I made the ½ inch allowance, made a horizontal line so I can place the ashoke. And then I measured the ashoke, the length of this back panel, okay, from one end to the other. And the same measurement I have on the fabric is what I cut on the ashoke. Okay, that's about 31 inches. So I'll cut the length of 31 inches of the ashoke. And then I will place it, the bad side of the ashoke, on the right side of the fabric on that horizontal line which I have formed. Okay, I'll pin it. Make sure you pin it, because if you don't pin it while you're sewing, it stretches. Okay, so you pin it all the way from one end to the other. And when I take it to the sewing machine, I am sewing it at the top there with about a ½ inch. This way, I know that what I am sewing is uniformed, okay? Because sometimes if you don't mark this ½ inch, you might just take out more than ½ inch at some point, or a quarter of this at some point, okay? Just to give it a straight and neat sewing, I'll be sewing it at the top there with a ½ inch. And then I'm measuring the side of this kimono from the end of one ashoke to the other end. So you're taking the ashoke into consideration when you're measuring the length for the side. I'll cut the length of that and double fold it. After double folding it, look at how I want to do it, okay? I double folded it and pinned the double fold, okay? And then I'll bring in the ashoke at one end and slot it into that. Now I'll be using hemming gum to, put the rest of it together after I remove the pin. So I simply slot in this ashoke. Note the way I'm doing it. Slot is still making sure that it's on the horizontal line that I have formed with the ½ inch. Okay, so you make sure that it is on that. I'll do this to the end of the other side, pinning it all the way to the end. Okay, so at the other end too, I'll be doing the same thing. I will double fold it and slot in the ashoke. And after sewing this, I interlock it with the same color of this fabric. Okay, so that's why you didn't really see it. That's why it's not really obvious. So after I'm done with the sides, I did this for the two sides. Okay, measuring the length of that side, including the ashoke length, okay, on both ends. I folded it and I used hemming gum to put it down. This is what it looks like. Okay, after that we are left with the middle front. Now the ashoke has added to the length of this kimono now. So when you're measuring your length, you need to include the height of the ashoke. So like I used 36 inches altogether, I'll be having about 42 inches as the length. Okay, so if you need it shorter, of course you subtract the length of the shoke from whatever length you're cutting on the fabric. So now I measured the midpoint. Okay, I simply folded it into two. From the back neckline midpoint, I folded it into two, and then I'll pin it all the way to the end. I'll measure this part. Now I folded it into two so it will be easy for me to measure. You can as well make it open and then measure it from one end of the ashoke to the other. Okay, round the neckline, and then you have it. So fold it into two. I have it on the relaxed form. I measured it to the end, which is about 47 inches. Okay, I'll multiply that by 2. So 47 plus 47. That's 94 inches. I cut the length of 94 inches, and because I didn't have enough ashoke again, I simply divided the ashoke into 2. So I have about 3 inches for it, and I join it. Now this joining will go into the back neckline midpoint. That's the center we are considering. I will place it as in the midpoint of the ashoke. to this midpoint. Okay, so now even if your ashoke you don't want to cut it into two, this is how you do it. You fold it into two, iron at one part of it, which is ½ inch, then you leave the other half. Okay, so you use the other half that you've not ironed to sew it all around the neck, and then you use the iron part, the part you have ½ inch iron in, and place it and sew it like top stitching. Okay, and then you have it on the folded form. But because this is single, I simply sew it from one end to the other. Okay, now after sewing the neckline, I'm marking 12 inches for the sleeve opening. And at that point, I will sew it very close to the ashoke that I have there all the way to the end. I won't take it to the length, okay? And after that, that's it for this kimono. This is me rocking it, okay? If this tutorial adds any value to you at all, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment for me in the comment section, and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.